This episode was a fun one. I interviewed my really good friend, Ted Osterer from Synergy Dental Partners, and he talked a little bit about what's going on in the industry. I was curious about how some of the latest shows went. We have had some mergers and acquisitions in the industry. BIOLASE, Patterson, Strawman has updated their product line with Synergy. Lots of stuff going on. Just a quick hit on what's going on in the industry. I hope you enjoy it. And we are back with another edition of Nobody Told Me That, a little bit of a mini episode with my good friend Ted from Synergy. You're like the director of sales, Grand Poobah, all of that, right? Is that your title, Grand Poobah?
That's actually what it says on my business card. So thank you. Finally, someone got my title properly.
I try to get things right. So I have Ted on because he's like so plugged in with all this stuff that's going on in the industry. And I want to know what's happening. We've got some sales going on. We've got some crazy like acquisitions. And then you just came back from Greater New York. And let's talk about how that was. Let's talk about all the deals that's been going on. And let's just do like a quick industry TED Talk. Do you like that? TED Talk.
I was at Greater New York in spirit. I didn't actually attend.
Okay. I think that's okay.
Yeah, I lived vicariously through LinkedIn and Facebook as the grand time that everyone seemed to have been having. Mm-hmm. Greater New York, there was companies that opted not to be there. There was companies that had remarkable presence, like our good friends at Darby, like our good friends at HTI Method. I know they had terrific meetings, and there were large conglomerates that just skipped on the meeting this year. I heard the speakers, of course, as always, are fantastic, but foot traffic every year, if you're a practitioner or manager and you kind of don't feel like going to New York over the holidays anymore, you're not alone. So,
well, and the Monday after Thanksgiving, I mean, people are walking back into an office like stacked with mail, patients getting upset, like they can't get in. I always thought that was really weird. I heard Sunday traffic was very good. Monday and Tuesday, I heard was a ghost town. It's funny you say LinkedIn because it does look like everybody had a great meeting. And I believe that people had great networking meetings. But then I hear on the side, like, thank God we had a good Saturday or Sunday because the rest of the week was bad. I just feel like that meeting goes on a day too long, maybe even 2 days too long.
At this point, at that time of year too, where the convenience of going has changed drastically. You can kind of barely drive in New York City anymore, just with all of the pedestrian only sections. I have a very good friend of mine. He's a practitioner, probably in his mid-50s at this point. And he was like, Ted, we went to Greater New York every year. It was all of our college buddies and dental school buddies. We'd meet at the show, walk around, have a time, see what's new. And we don't really need that anymore. When I was a practice manager walking around, I was just going to see friends. What can I not learn or what deals can I get? For those that invest and have a terrific show, power to you. And for those that don't have a great show, what are you going to do? I'm asking you at this point, just from a vendor standpoint or a doctor standpoint, what did you have at your office the day after New York that you didn't have, before going?
And I'll tell you, one thing that used to motivate us to go to these meetings, because DC Dental used to be a huge meeting and, huge hotels, and it's not like that anymore. It's a very small, intimate meeting now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, go online to their meetings. But I remember back in the day, we would go to the meetings because there were meeting only specials. Then those meeting only specials kind of stretched. And then you could realize you could call the rep who wanted to make a sale and say, hey, remember that meeting special last month? Can I still get it? And they're going to say, yeah. So I feel like the meeting special only, that allure, once people got hip to it, like, we can just call and get it. So maybe that contributed to it, but you can't put that stuff out there and then take it back. Like, it's hard to take that back. Like, say, oh, sorry, you missed it. Deadline was midnight.
Unless it's a discontinuation or a price increase. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's hard.
Look, I've seen the rise of in-person education events.
Okay.
They're coming back. That was a year event in August.
It was great.
Shoulder to shoulder.
It was packed. I was so happy and so thankful because anytime you put on a live event, there's a part of you that's like, oh my gosh, no one's coming. But yeah, and thank you for your support there. So you're seeing that too with like smaller, more localized events. Is that what you're seeing?
You got study clubs that are a few hours that are going to get 40 people. And I was at Digapalooza in Chicago. It was a 2-day event, a Gibson Steakhouse in Oak Brook, Illinois.
Oh, nice.
And there was 200 dentists there.
Wow.
Over the course of 2 days.
And all in a steakhouse? They can do that? I've never been to a steakhouse that's big.
They had meeting space. Think of like a wedding.
Oh, like okay.
Yeah, but it's also a steakhouse that has like a catering room to it. And it was a terrific event. The engagement was unreal. The speakers were fantastic. And it's the content, How can this really benefit me and my practice? How is my team going to get better? How am I going to be smarter? How am I going to know what to do? After I attend an event, I believe that resonates with people so much more now than it once did. People are somewhat sick of online learning. It's draining.
It's true. It's true.
I can't see as well as I did 5 years ago. I don't attribute that to age at all. I attribute that solely to screen time.
Okay. All right.
I think your listeners can relate to.
I think so.
If there's a place to be that's worth going and dentists are saying, or office managers are saying great things about it, you want to be a part of it. And I learned so much. You should check it out. And as long as the content's fresh, your podcast has a ton of listeners because nobody told me that. What a brilliant name, right?
Well, and I have to thank my friend Rita Zamora for coming up with that, because we were brainstorming. So I was like, what am I going to call this podcast? And she said, what's the most common thing that people say to you? And I said, oh, that nobody told me that law, or nobody told me that I could do this. She's like, there it is. Like, it was so simple for her. Like, yeah, there it is.
I can't be surprised that Rita Zamora is good at something.
Right. She's great. She's great. All right. So let's talk about some stuff that's going on. So you've signed on some companies, and then we're going to talk about some other companies that have been like moving and shaking. So what's going on with Synergy? What did you do this year?
Yeah, I'm going to be biased towards Synergy Dental Partners, as the title that so accurately stated before what that was, that I won't repeat it. You should have listened earlier in the podcast. We've had a tremendous year. We've seen independent dentists just understand where they are as a practice, understand where they need to grow, and understand where they can cut costs without jeopardizing anything that happens in their practice, which is a phenomenal thing. How often do you see anything going into 2025 just getting worse from a product perspective, from a service perspective, from an intellectual perspective? And dental offices are at risk of that, but we're seeing them really, really fight and survive and be strong and remaining independent, keeping their autonomy. Look, we're the largest dental buying club in the country, right? Doctors or offices will join us to help lower their costs on supplies, on services, on lab fees, and so on, right? Mm-hmm. And we've added over 550 members in the year of 2024, but we also acquired Dental Well Savings Network as well. So with our 5,000 members, we're getting DSO pricing for independent dentists. And the amount of dentists we're getting every month is a credit to them.
It's surprising.
Is that their math is going to math. You have startups that are acknowledging now, hey, I don't need 28 people in my business telling me what to do. I know what I want. And if I can save money on the exact products or services or equipments that I want, I know that Synergy is there. And I'm going to lower the cost of my overhead or my opening order by 25%, right? That's what it's like in the independent dentistry side of things, right? We're fighting big corporate on behalf of independent dentists. We just signed a deal with Straumann. Straumann, Neodent, ClearCorrect are all offering very aggressive deals for our members at this point, on implants, on aligners, and so on.
Because honestly, implants are huge, like a huge cost, like a brand name, like a Straumann or, their competitors. And when I used to speak for the ICOI and their component organizations, it was always like the high-end implantologists would use brand names. And then you'd have other people that are like, well, we're just starting. We can't afford those. Those are so cost prohibitive. And so for you to be able to bring in a big name like that, it's a big company. Good for you guys.
You switch from Lexus to Camry, right?
Same thing though.
And if you can have the Lexus for the price of a Camry.
Yeah.
Look, we just signed on a deal with Cavo as well for handpieces.
Oh, really? Okay.
We're partnered with NSK and Cavo, so.
Listen, the handpieces are such a huge hit on the budget when it's unexpected. And I can't tell you how many times when you bring in a new assistant or sterilization tech and they're like, oh, I thought that handpiece was disposable. And it's like, it's bye-bye, it's gone. You were a manager.
The dropped it warranty.
Yeah, you're like, what do you mean? It's not like the burr handpiece, everything goes in the trash. What? So.
Yeah.
Crazy. So that's really good. So is it also like the regenerative stuff too, like the bone grafts and membranes
Yeah.
and all of that? That's huge. Okay,
Hmm.
good. Wow. Wow.
So, I mean, look, just our implant partners, look, they're going to be world class. You got Zest for the locator abutment. You got
Mm-hmm.
BioHorizons and their implant line and bone regen. I mean, look, I'd love to talk about Synergy all day. I've had a couple of cups of coffee, so let's be careful here.
Yeah, me too, actually. So here's the other thing I wanted to ask though is when you're signing a deal, like say Strauman, like, and be as open as you want to, obviously, but like, how long does it take to bring that to the table? Like, when do you guys start talking? Like, what's the sales cycle to bring in a company? Like, what if I said to you, hey, I work with Duncan Implants and you need to have a deal with them? Like, what does that look like?
Um, there are some that are gung ho, understand us right away, and the stars align right away. And then there are other deals that start in the late 1900s. And, look, this is not a shot at organizations. We're at the mercy and discretion. And dental offices can resonate with this too. There's turnover, there's
Mm-hmm.
people on vacation, there's legal, there's,
Oh, it's the lawyers. It's always the mercy of the lawyers. Are you kidding
yeah,
me? Always.
it's the deal itself.
Yeah.
Look, we've had to reject deals because our members don't get anything.
Mm.
It's like we don't want a name in our network and it's just marketing. It's not fair to anyone involved.
And I think this is the next generation. This is why I love you guys. Like, you guys definitely offer something new because there was a time period when the buying companies came out and it was like, oh, wow, they've got a little bit of a deal. And then you're like, oh, but I could have gotten that from calling like Darby or whatever, right? And
Yeah.
then the next iteration was, okay, we've got to offer it because everybody's got a buying club. And so everybody's deal looked the same. So then there was no differentiation. So you guys have done a good job with saying, no, no, we need more. And I think that's something that I'm not sure when you're looking at so and so's group that has a buying club. Is it a group of doctors buying or is it a true buying club that's going to help you even drive that cost of goods down?
Well, we were a hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
We were founded by dentists. It was like the goal. It was a couple of guys out of Charlotte, great guys, Dr. Rick Offit, Dr. Mustafa Shah Khan. They compared invoices. They were ordering the same supplies from the same
Yeah.
company and paying different prices.
Yeah.
And if there's an unspoken thing that dentists are good at, it's being outraged. And their
God
outrage,
bless. I love
yeah,
it.
their outrage sparked us. It's like if we get enough like-minded people together, then we can negotiate pricing instead of search for it. And
Mm-hmm.
over the course of time, it got big enough. It's, hey, we need a team. And look, our chief procurement officer, right, Jim Gochis. Oh my goodness, he leverages the buying power so properly. He is so good at what he does. He
That's
beats up
great.
suppliers all day, and he gets independent dentists deals they
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to get in their own. And then I give dentists peace of mind that we're watching their pricing not go up. We are the cheapest employee that they have.
So I want to talk a little bit though about you said something earlier like driving the cost down, and I've definitely noticed in the last 2 or 3 years, definitely after COVID, but I think it's taken hold, which I'm so happy about. We used to just look at overhead and we would be like, we need to keep our overhead down. And now, when I'm talking to a doctor on a strategy call, I'm like, what's your cost of providing an endo? What's the cost of providing a filling? So they're really looking at cost of goods. I mean, look, when you were a manager, I was a manager, we didn't know the breakdown per room per hour. Maybe you did. I didn't. We didn't do that.
By the time I left, they were very, very gung ho on fine. And to interrupt, I have a terrific friend of mine, and she's like, "What's the cost of overhead per hour? What's the cost of overhead?" And I went into a tailspin. I went down such a rabbit hole, like. The meme of the dude from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia
Oh
next
yeah,
to
this
Sean
the
Forth. Yeah,
conspiracy theory. Yeah,
that was
yeah.
me. And it's like, well, the cost of phones, and then there's a cost of overhead, and this person's on break, and then there's stock, and like,
So
depreciated
funny.
inventory, depreciated assets, and then I lost my mind, and
That's hilarious.
now we have. But I'm sorry, go on. I
No, no,
just
no,
just
but
shared.
that's the thing though. Then there was the question of, well, how am I supposed to figure that out? And then you go around and CPAs are like, well, we can talk to you about this. And some are very open, but some are like, oh, you got to be a client, then we'll figure that out. Then you have other people like, Mark Costa, Spodak, Bulletproof, like, here's the formula. Then doctors are like, I have the formula. What do I do with it? I don't understand. So, but I think that's changing. When I say taking hold, I mean, this is now something where like, what do you mean I need to know collections and production? This is now falling into that. Okay, I need to know it. I mean, I don't mind DSOs at all. I think there's good and there's bad. If one thing I will say about them is that they have taught us to be better business people because now a lot of solo dentists were like, oh, I better know my EBITDA. I better know my, cost of goods, all that. My doctor's super, super smart. The one I worked for, very financially minded, real estate investor, all that stuff. But he was like, oh, I better figure this EBITDA stuff out. Like he is good at all the other finances and finally laser focused. So I think that's a good thing in our industry. And then you've got these Facebook groups where they're talking those numbers, they're talking it through. So I think the awareness is good. But you said something in the pregame. There's a lot of social media places where it's all shiny smoke and mirrors. Everybody's EBITDA is great. Everybody's profit margin is great. Everybody went out and networked with zero problems. So
Oh, yeah.
there's always the other side.
The Forbes 400 is all dental offices and dental companies,
Right, right. Well, so other stuff going on. So we just got the news about Patterson is probably going to go private again because they just got bought by another company. So the news is coming out on that. By the time this gets published, it's probably going to be even more, out there. But that's a big shift.
I can only say I'm so eager to see what happens.
Yeah, me too. And I'm glad actually because private Patterson is the Patterson I worked with when I first was coming out.
Sure.
And it really was family style to me. I did notice when they went corporate, Patterson reps in the regional offices are amazing, fantastic. Some of my really good road family. Patterson corporate has always been just something else. So I'm kind of happy to see it go in this direction. I hope it's a good thing for all of my friends there.
No matter what, you hope it's a good thing for the human.
Of course, of course.
And, I was a supply rep before I was an office manager. And it's like, look, I'm walking through the boroughs of New York and it's like, man, the name on the back of your jersey is as important as the name on the front of your jersey, And if there's a way, no matter what organization it is, where you want to drink your company Kool-Aid, If you're an office manager, you want your team to buy in. If you're a company, you want your team to buy in, And it doesn't mean using buzzwords like family and things like that. Like, you want to have a strong enough message. I mean, it's our mission to preserve independent dentistry, right? That's Synergy's message. And I love small business. And, I grew up, my father had one. And what happens 99% of the time? Big business buys small business. Big business screws everything up. And now they're small business again. And
it's a weird cycle how that happens.
Yeah, it's a funny cycle. But know that it's cyclical and you just don't know when the circle closes. And look, to my friends at Patterson, of course, I wish them nothing but the best. And I hope that their customers are taken care of in a way that they deserve to be treated as well.
For sure. Well, and then we also had BIOLASE hitting bankruptcy and then getting acquired by Megagen, which Korean, I think, implant company. So I don't know, maybe Jim needs to get on the phone and start hammering deals with this company, right?
Look, we'll see,
Yeah, I know. Jim's got something cooking, I'm sure. But that was kind of a shock too, because the industry thought that Solea, I think, was the big runner up to buy BIOLASE. And then at the last minute, this company came in and scooped it up. And the CEO just put something on LinkedIn on how he wants to restore the glory days of BIOLASE and he's going to be aggressive with making changes. And I know he already made changes because a lot of my friends got laid off, but I'm also like, I love a good turnaround story. So can this happen? But the world of mergers and acquisitions in dentistry is really fascinating once you start paying attention to who's buying who and who's coming up with these strategic moves. And I mean, like, look, Dental Whale, you guys bought the network and they carved off other stuff. I think, was it Uptime Health bought other stuff? Yeah. So like, even then, like, people were watching Dental Whale go up, up, up. And then like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, they're getting sold and getting split off. And you're like, wait, what happened? And, then there's a whole group of industry people, probably like yourself, that were like, oh yeah, we saw this coming. So it's like, I would love to see things coming.
You think things are coming and they take forever.
Yeah, that's true too.
And then when you least expect it, I mean, look, please, I have nothing against Patterson. They've been a tremendous organization for how long?
Oh, yeah.
There's been rumors for 10 years about their future. And we just hope everyone lands on their feet. And, it's the autonomy to run it from who buys it. It's the decisions that are made and the human element on top of everything. And it's tough, man.
Yeah.
Think of when a dentist sells their practice or, there's so much uncertainty and you really just hope the best and you work as hard as you can to make it good.
So here's what's interesting that I've noticed, and maybe you've noticed this too, but when a company starts to turn around or make a move or their new strategic plan is enacted or whatever, usually it's when people like myself get a call. We need to win back the customer. And we're going to do that through education. And that's always like the first thing they want to do. We need to beef up community. We need to bring up education. And everybody's gung ho about that. And then, like a year in, you notice education isn't as strong anymore. So it feels like they just, like, they want to grab attention. They bring in the big names to put on these big events and big webinars and stuff. And then it kind of just flattens out. So I think my advice, honestly, to anybody listening, if you're going to start a education initiative and be known for that, like, keep it up. Don't just use that as like a customer acquisition. Customer success is a thing, right?
My goodness, it's everything. Well, look, even in the event of a rebrand, you got to take what was good and make it better.
Yeah.
You know, when you acquire the Dental Well Savings Network, I mean, they did a ton of things that were fantastic. And we had to level up in their acquisition. We had to provide a better service. We had to make sure the people that were there before did a tremendous job.
Well, let me ask you, did you know that that was going to have to happen? Like, when you bought the assets, were you like, oh, we're going to have to stretch? Or did you think we can accommodate that? Like, did you get uncomfortable with that? Because that's a pretty decent amount of people that you brought in.
When I got the news that we acquired Dental Well Savings Network, I was happy. And I was like, oh man, we have a lot of work to do. Like, it was like, I'll get a good night's sleep tonight. And there's going to be a lot going on for the foreseeable future. And it's still going. And I don't mean that in a bad way at all. You know, all of our challenges are good. And, you know, hopefully in the event of Patterson and BIOLASE, they're viewing the challenges as opportunity. And it sounds so cliche, right? But
No, but it's true. I just saw something on LinkedIn. Sarah Ruberg posted something about, is it a passport or is it a prison? Like, it's your point of view. You know, is this new opportunity a passport to new things, or are you like, ugh, now I got to work harder? You know, it's all your point of view.
If it's working for the better, though, like, I was excited for the work that was coming. You know, I'm going to meet trillions of new people. We have a ton of new connections. We have people that are happy to work with us that might not have worked with us beforehand.
Yep.
And hopefully BIOLASE and Patterson and all of those, whatever's going on in the world, you know, could view it as such. We know who BIOLASE and Patterson are for a reason. And it's not because of a bad thing. And, you know, look, we have a ton of people come to us because they didn't need a Patterson anymore, you know, or they didn't want one to begin with.
Yeah.
So, you know, for a lot of people, math is going to math and view something like a larger entity as such as more of an expense.
I think that's a really good way of framing it. Like, if it's going to be good, like, you've got to have the good attitude for it. I like that.
Just a reminder to check out the companies who support the show. My friends at Synergy Dental Partners are offering 2 free months to try out their lower prices for labs, supplies, and select software services. To sign up, visit odysseymgmt.com/synergy, and the link is also in the show notes.
We were talking in the pregame about what's going on in offices, because I want to segue into, and then we'll wrap up. What do you see for next year? Because I'm hearing pain points right now from offices, and I'm curious to hear what you're hearing. And then let's talk about, what do we see for 25?
Oh, man. I mean, the pain points. Insurance is paying us less. My costs of everything are going up.
Yeah.
I'm charging people a 3% credit card fee when I should have just risen my rates by 5% and no one would have noticed.
Yeah, but you can't because of the reimbursement, right?
People are coming to us because of this. People are coming to you because of this.
Yeah.
How do I navigate these changes? I think it's a good time because people are asking for constructive help.
Oh, that's true. That's a good way of putting it. That is true.
And guys, now's the time to be smarter about things. There are a lot of people with good answers out there. You know, sometimes you and your peers can ask together and we won't tell anyone. You know, and that's okay. That there's pain points everywhere. You don't have to go to work today and be like, what is this? What? Oh, and it's just like, all right, things have changed. It's no big deal. I know what to do now and I'm going to go do it. I mean, there's so many different routes to take. Lower your expenses. Don't ever cut corners. Be open an hour extra. Not every day. You know, there are just certain things. I'm just spitfiring. It's just common, you know, but it's just like the pain points are just louder.
Sorry to cut you off. I get so excited because we were at a study club. My good friend, Jerry Gottlieb, we were doing a Seattle study club. And one of the doctors got up. He had gone out of network and he said, one thing we had to learn is the girls in my office had to learn that they had to be sweet again to the patients. And I thought, you know what? I bet that's true for a lot of offices because we're so busy. We're checking them in. We have a nice smile plastered on our face. And now, like, they're talking and they're asking questions. And how's your daughter? And how's the kids are getting big. Very, very different that you have to how you have to treat your patients now. So what do you think for next year? What do you think we're going to see? Economy turnaround? Going to be capital purchases, big purchases? What do you see?
I think there's going to be some consumer confidence next year.
Good. I hope so. Yeah.
I do. I think there's going to be new evaluations. I think 2025, I think people are going to work more hours.
Okay.
And there's just no way around it anymore. I hear that everywhere.
So working more hours for the same profit or working more hours because the hustle is real?
I think both.
Okay.
When you have talent in your practice, they need to be designated for the right areas. I think you're going to see a rise in treatment presentation properly, if that makes sense. If you're listening to this and you have team members that aren't collecting as much as you'd like or something along those lines, do an exercise with them, Just have everybody submit a dollar amount that they're comfortable speaking about, make it anonymous, and see who has the highest one, and that's the one that should be presenting treatment,
Yeah, for real. That's a great way of looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then those that aren't as comfortable, hey, insurance is calling your name. Designate things in a way that is good.
Well, and I know my two very best, hardest workers who were great at talking about costs both they had a jewelry store background. And I remember the one, Jean, she actually took my job when I left. I remember, like, how do you feel presenting $5,000 worth of treatment? And she's like, that's like one earring. Like, she didn't care. She's like, yeah, whatever. What do I need to say? She took to it. Like, it was just amazing. Fantastic. And that's what you want. You want someone who's very comfortable. I'm glad to hear that you think that things are going to turn around. I think so too. I just get this feeling that people, well, I know we're close to the end of December, but I feel like people just want to be done with this year. Like, this year was just so out of control in so many ways. So I think people just want to be done.
And I think 2025 is the year that people dip their foot in the waters and try entrepreneurial tactics.
Yeah.
And I think 2026 is where we're going to see the results of the efforts of 2025. Like, that's kind of what I really see. It's slow and steady.
All right, so I'm going to have to remember this prediction because you're going to come on for some more Grand Poobah TED Talks. And
we'll talk in March and be like, I didn't say any of that. I don't know what you're talking about.
So wrong. Totally wrong. Just forget it.
We both have bags under our heads. Our names are crossed out.
I know. You'll be like, was Synergy? No, I'm just kidding. No, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. If anybody is going to land on their feet anywhere, it's going to be you. But you do a great job where you are. I know the team, and people, just so you're listening, I know if you're not watching, you're listening, but I know the team at Synergy. I've met many of them, and you guys are fun. Like, you truly enjoy what you're doing. I've met with some teams, and I'm like, these people hate each other. That's not the case with you guys.
It's always sunny at Synergy Dental Partners. It's just... We're just this group of people. We're going to argue for 15 minutes to start a meeting about nothing, not remember any of it, and then just make sure that something's banged out. What's beautiful about Synergy, we make decisions right away. There's no bureaucracy. Like, if we have a policy implemented Friday, Monday, it is carried out. In a dental organization, that's very, very rare.
But that is the beauty of small business and entrepreneur. I mean, when my boss and I came up with something we wanted to implement, we did it. And I've been with companies that have grown and then they get layers and layers and they're not nimble. They move very slowly. Legal becomes the Lord, and that is really tough. All right. So listeners, there is a special Synergy's been promoting or sponsoring the podcast for, I think, almost a year now, and I do appreciate that. You should look in the show notes because there's going to be a sweet deal for you all. I don't get anything from your purchases. They just support the podcast, so please check them out. Ted, you want to take us out of 2024? Any parting shots for 24? Any wise words of wisdom here?
Yeah, I'm going to take a nap.
That's actually one of the best things I've heard in a while.
Yeah, you're going to meet with your CPA. Your CPA is going to say, check out Synergy, and then we're all going to take a nap together.
That's fantastic.
We're all going to rest for a little bit. We're going to dust off and be healthy for January.
You know what? You're in Florida, so you're always like, you got like this healthy glow to you. I have to like sit in front of a sun lamp to get that glow, right? I got to adjust my lighting.
I'm just so excited to be seen in public with Teresa Duncan.
Stop.
I was doing push-ups to warm up for the podcast, and here we are. We're just excited.
We are so much trouble when we're together. So you're going to be also, I want to give a shout out, Christine Taxon. Her insurance extravaganza is going to be in Orlando, and I'll put the dates in the show notes for that. You'll be there. You've been supporting her for that. So come and see all of us there.
Synergy members get a discount, so check us out also.
All right.
We worked out an arrangement. They're so fun, the Taxons.
Oh my
Paul,
God.
Christine, if you're listening, I love you. And even your headaches are fun headaches.
Oh, gosh. Let me tell you a quick story about Christine. When I first met her, we were like 2 or 3 years into our friendship. And she's like, come up to the office. Paul was still working in the office, or he had his own office. And she's like, come into the office. And she's like, she wanted me to have a meeting with the team. And so I hear them, and he's like, he comes in. And if anybody has heard the Texans, the way they talk to each other is the way they've always talked to each other. Paul, what do you want for dinner? Christine, I don't care. Just buy something. I don't care. When am I going to be done? I'm going to be done in a little bit. Just go buy dinner. We'll go get something nice. All right. I'm just asking. Oh my God. I have never laughed so hard to see them in their natural environment. And this is how they work together in the office. I love it. I love it. So
it's very familiar.
Well, yeah, because you're in New York, right? Yeah.
It's how I grew up.
And the accents haven't changed. They moved to Florida, same accents. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. You feel like you're at home. It's pretty funny.
All right. Dear listeners, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the podcast, to watch the podcast on YouTube. Check out Synergy. The link will be in the show notes, and we'll see you later.
We're all super busy, so thank you for making time for me today. The show notes will have any links that we referenced in the episode. You can also find links for my book, events, and my online insurance course, Dental Insurance Design and Management. I speak often around the country on management and insurance issues. Come hang out with me in one of my classes. I promise you'll laugh and learn.